Do you think that Spider-Man, got any action the whole time that he was away from MJ?
I would like to think so, at least once per chance, and then was like, you know what, I'm a respectable, honorable guy, and I don't think I need to go through this right now. I would like to think at least once, but I don't think like every weekend.
I would like to think it was all the time.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So you think that like he's just like slinging that spider around?
Yeah, no, he's getting the mind goblin all the time. And I think it's because we find out in this film that he's you know, kind of gone, "Oh, I'm gonna leave MJ and Ned alone."
Uh huh.
So, he didn't plan to come back. He was like, "I gotta move on." So he was getting some Felicia Hardying on his Felicia Hard. So,
Oh,
you know
okay,
what I
okay.
mean?
I like it. I
That's
like the idea.
that's what I would
Uh,
like to think.
that just makes me more excited for an eventual Felicia Hardy to be in the MCU.
I would have been, I think, more excited if the movie didn't do the ending of this, and now I would be annoyed if we got Alicia Hardy right now.
Alicia Hardy, not Felicia Hardy.
What was that?
You said Alicia Hardy.
No, I said Felicia Hardy. Check the tape.
Hello and
Idiot.
welcome back to the Geek Day podcast. Return your weekday into a Geek Day weekend edition. Spider-Man brand new day ultimate review. We've watched it. We've seen it. We've digested this movie. Alex, are you excited to talk about this movie for the next hour and whenever?
I am so excited. I've actually had the great I've had the great privilege of seeing this movie twice already.
Hmm.
I saw it on Wednesday with the early Amazon screenings, and
Hmm.
then I saw it Thursday at like noon when I took Baby Moon to go see it. So I've gotten two viewings in, and I'm excited to talk about it. What about you, Bobbert?
I am so gosh darn excited to talk about this movie. It's the same thing. Like we finished it. I texted you because you watched it the day before I did, and I was like, I have thoughts. We talked very little about it just because we had a lot. We want to talk a lot here, and I'm
Mhm.
very excited to get into a little bit more deeper of those thoughts. And then also, kind of before we started this, I said, I think my feelings have changed a little bit for the movie, but I am excited nonetheless to continue to talk about this for however long we go today.
Please, man.
Please, if you are watching on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, let us know what you think about the movie. We will be
Twitch.
getting into spoilers eventually, but as of right now, we're just going to do a beginning overall sort of thoughts. Now, Alex, do you want to start with our scores off the top, or do you want to go like through our thoughts and at the very end we give our scores?
Yeah, I'd like to go through our thoughts a little bit. I do want to point out, Robert, both of us, rocking the Spider-Man gear, but in different ways. You're wearing your great black suit Spider-Man hat, and I have different Spider-Man merchandise that I'm enjoying right now. I can't say what it is
Nice.
because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't know if we're gonna get flagged.
It's
Um,
fine. Tom
Even though
Holland.
it's a non, adult drink.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but I've actually been drinking these since they came out. They're so good.
Hell
And
yes.
they did the new shandies. They're amazing.
Yes.
It
I have been looking for them for like a while. Like they announced them like months ago, and then
Yeah, I think we went to 2 different Targets until we were able to find them.
okay. So
Because
Target's where I want to
the
go.
regular version of the drink is pretty easy to track down, but the
Mhm.
shandies, I think on the 2nd Target, finally, I was able to, track it down. But yeah.
Say less. I might have to make a Target run after this.
Yeah,
Uh,
Robert, and I just wanna say, I know you've been looking for it, and I don't wanna say anything to upset you, so I will just tell you, they're absolutely fantastic, really amazing, can't think of drinking anything else, and you're really missing out.
that
Um,
sounds good.
yeah.
It's like tasting Tom Holland. Okay, let's move forward. I realized it was like coming out of my mouth, and I was like, I can't stop this
It was
without.
what?
You heard right.
Yeah,
Hell yes, Alex. Let's go ahead and just jump immediately into it because, like I said, I
tell
think we
me.
have a lot to discuss over this week.
We
Uh,
do.
just overall, straight out of your mind. No, like, don't formulate any thoughts. Overall, what is your opinion on Spider-Man: Brand New Day?
Yeah, in a nutshell, I genuinely think that this is the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie if we're taking just the single Tom Holland solo films. Okay, if we're just doing the solo films, we're taking those into account. This is the best one. I don't think that I've seen a Spider-Man movie with this amount of style since like, man, honestly, since like Amazing Spider-Man 1. So I think Amazing Spider-Man 1 has like that style about it. Amazing Spider-Man 2 definitely feels more like a Transformers style, which is just corporate bullshit. But anyway, I think this movie has a voice, and Spider-Man movies, if they're known for one thing, it's having a voice. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I feel like we haven't had that till this movie. I think everyone in this movie does absolutely fantastic. The things that I dislike about this movie are more nitpicks than anything. I think this is fantastic. I think this is one of those films where when people go back to, you know, everyone's favorite films of Phase 4 or 5, whatever the fuck we're in right now. It's going to be this. It's going to be Guardians. It's going to be Thunderbolts. This is definitely going to be in the upper echelon. This is so good. It's so good. Genuinely, I think the best Spider-Man film we have gotten. I think since a lot of people have been saying this, but I genuinely agree with it. I think it's the best Spider-Man film we've gotten since Spider-Man 2. That's
Wow.
just for me. I think this is like one of the Spider-Man movies. But Robert, what about you?
I think I would agree with you. How to say this? I would say that it is the best Spider-Man movie, but I would say it's not my favorite Spider-Man movie. I would
I
say
can
that
see that. Hmm.
there's so much. I've been ruminating, right? Just like thinking about everything about this movie for the past couple of days because I knew we were going to talk about it.
Hmm.
And at just the very top, I think that there's so much right in this movie that it's weird that like the parts I don't necessarily enjoy or whatever seem to kind of like it sucks to say, but kind of not brings it down. But I'm like, okay, like I feel like I'm being hypercritical, and that's what I'm kind of trying to like stay away from. I don't want to
Yeah.
be like this, this movie is blah blah blah. It could have been better. I don't want to be like the nerd about it. But I think that there is some stuff that still, I would say, at the very top of my list would still be Homecoming, because I do still see it as a coming of age story. It's the first time we ever got to see the Spider-Man in this universe. He's still doing this, but overall, I think like what I said was it feels like you're reading an annual comic where you have
Yeah.
all of these different characters coming in, having their important parts in the story, not necessarily just being a cameo fest, but really making New York feel alive, making this
Hmm.
MCU to me, honestly, finally feeling alive, because you have like the moments in other movies where they're like, "Oh yeah, this reminds you like, oh hey, this happened at whatever point." This is the first time for me that it feels like, "Oh hey, this is breathing New York, or this is a breathing MCU."
Yeah.
With just like just the little dashes of everything else. But
I
that's
agree.
just my overall just top of the head thoughts for right now.
Yeah, I, I can totally see that. Robert, I want us to go ahead and go over our ratings for the
Mhm.
film. And so Bobbert, let's do the thing. We'll
Okay.
count down 3, 2, 1. We'll give our out of 10 scores for Spider-Man Brand New Day. You ready?
Ready.
Alrighty. 3, 2, 1. 9 out of 10.
8.5. Yeah.
What was that?
8.5.
8 point.
Uh
That's
yeah.
higher than what you told me before.
No, I said it was still 8.5. I've
Was
not
it
changed it.
8.5? I thought it
It
was
was
an 8.
no, it was 8.5 before. So
Oh,
my
okay.
rating hasn't changed. I still think that like no matter what, this movie is great. Like it is fantastic. Man, directing is fantastic. Fight choreography is fantastic. Everything about this movie was just amazing for me. I just think
What's
that
your
there's
favorite
like
Spider-Man movie?
my favorite Spider movie is
Yeah.
Homecoming.
Out of all of them?
Yes, I my favorite one is Homecoming because I love Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland is the epitome of Spider-Man. I don't think either the other ones they're able to do either way better. Like Toby is a good Peter Parker, but not a good Spider-Man. I think Andrew Garfield is a great Spider-Man, not a good Peter Parker.
Mhm.
But Tom Holland is the best of both worlds, and I think that in Homecoming you see it specifically, and in this movie you see just how one great of an actor he is, and two just how great of a Spider-Man he is. Uh,
So, Homecoming's your favorite. Do you think, even not saying Homecoming's not your favorite, if this is going to change your favorite, do
mhm.
you think this is a better film than Homecoming?
Yes, I think like
Okay.
from a technical standpoint, yes, and like
Okay.
from like a storytelling standpoint, yes, I do think that this is a better technical movie, yes, but I would still say my favorite is still Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
fair. Fair. Um so Robert, I want to well, I guess tell me what your hopes were going into Spider-Man Brand New Day, and then tell me if those hopes were met, if you got everything you wanted to get, if there was anything you were disappointed by or anything you were left wanting, and like what were those things?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely coming into this, I was very excited just to see uh Tom again. Just to see like him living in this new world, that like the consequences of his actions. So really the things that were important to me were, one, seeing the consequences of his actions, that nothing is going to be changing from like this movie. They're not retconning anything from the past. Two, how is he going to evolve as a character, that now he's no longer in high school, no longer has this like real big web of people to kind of like really push him forward. And then three, seeing Sadie Sink. What was Sadie Sink's character going to be? Because of course we had the rumor mill was going around, and then you and I had our conversation last episode, like final decisions. Who do we think it was going to be? Both of us being wrong, and I think that this movie answered all three of those things. Now, for like kind of disappointing things, I think this was a good. Actually, no. I wish this was more of a goodbye to the other characters from the home series.
Oh, you're
Uh,
still on this.
yes, I am. Because I think that when I think of Spider-Man, you think of the different kind of like eras of like friendships and stuff like that. And I love MJ. I love Ned. I think they're fantastic. I love Zendaya, Jacob Batalon. This like made me be like, oh man, I wish there was more, but I'm okay with it kind of like being gone. I'm excited to see what Spider-Man Peter Parker looks like going forward, meeting brand new people, not necessarily having the same gang along with him the entire time. Um,
Do you did you also feel, cuz I did feel this. Did you feel like in this film, surprisingly, it was the best of all the characters' chemistry with each other?
yes.
Yeah, and I
Um,
thought that was wild because technically the characters don't know each other.
yes.
Yeah.
And like you said, they don't technically know each other, so they don't really have anything to build off of. But this
Mhm.
is the most chemistry that I saw between him and MJ in the first three movies.
Yeah.
The best chemistry between him and Jacob Batalon. Actually, no, I think Homecoming has a lot of really good chemistry between the two of them as well. But like this was like, hey, we don't know each other, and it's just like just two dudes like just joking around, and like
Yeah.
seeing like they have a lot of
Just
in
guys
common,
being dudes.
just guys being dudes. But that's I was like, man, this is really great, but I'm ready for something else. You know,
God, you're wild. You're wild. I am seeing chat here. UTC says I didn't like the big fight being in the middle of the movie, and this is something we can kind of pivot to. I would like to talk about this with you as well because I did think that was an interesting choice
mhm,
for the film. Because I think most people kind of assumed in the trailers that the Hulk fight was like the climax of the movie. That
mhm.
was the last scene of the film. I mean, because that's what we're used to. The big set piece is the last part. What did you think about that, Robert?
Honestly, I loved it.
Mhm.
I love that it was in the middle because it's able to tell a different kind of story while also setting up the future of the MCU in a very good way that doesn't seem like it's being like the movie itself is being hampered down by something to set up something else.
Yeah.
So like we got kind of, hey, this is the sort of resolution to this part of the story. And then you get to go forward with more of the character based stuff. So it is that like Peter Parker evolution, that is that Sadie Sink's character's evolution, and seeing a lot of, I think, the things that are going to be the ramifications for the MCU to come. I
Mhm.
think like this last part was specifically very much needed to set things up very, very well for the future, as well as really, like I said, solidify who is Peter Parker now, who's Spider Man now that he
Yeah.
has these new powers and such like that. But what about yourself, Alex?
Yeah, no, genuinely, I'm in the same boat as you. I genuinely loved that decision because I feel like movies like Brand New Day, movies like Thunderbolts. I love that we are doing this now, where the end battle doesn't have to be the big set piece, doesn't have to be the big sky beam, doesn't have to be the big explosions. It can be, and don't get me wrong, there's still some great action at the end. But what I loved is that in a lot of superhero movies, we can just call it what it is. Superhero movies, for the most part, including in their inception, a lot of superhero movies are action figures punching each other,
Hmm.
and you're leading up to the action figures punching each other. And what I loved about what they did with this is, yes, we got the action figures punching each other. We got the Punisher and Spider-Man versus the Hulk on the high rise with this big set piece that was really phenomenal to watch. That was so exciting to see. And then while we got an action piece at the end, it wasn't like normal superhero movies where the characters have to serve the action. The
Hmm.
action was serving the character. The action was literally put there not just because we know there has to be a big superhero conflict at the end. The action was there as the vehicle for the storytelling to show this is Spider-Man fully honing in with these new abilities. This is Peter not giving into the spider portion or Peter portion. It's him picking both. And I
Hmm.
think that that's such a great storytelling device. And if anything, the climax isn't even the fight with him in the hand. The climax is that ending scene with him and Sadie Sink.
I agree.
Yeah, in that thing. That is the end fight of the film. That is
Hmm.
the last level of the film. That's what we're leading to. And again, maybe people are annoyed with that because I have seen some criticism about that. But again, the same way that I feel about Thunderbolts, I feel about this one where I think that's such a great decision. That is so cool. And the biggest thing, the biggest thing is it subverts expectations. Everyone, including myself, I was like, that Hulk fight's the end fight. Like when she was like, oh, she's going into damage control right now. I was like, oh, we're getting to the end fight already. I thought this movie was 2 hours and 45 minutes,
Hmm.
and it wasn't the end fight. And I absolutely love that. I love that we get the set piece for them to sell toys and shit, but we got what's more important, the character work that really, you know, uh, I think solidifies this movie as being as amazing as a lot of us feel it is.
Hmm.
Um, but back to the chat here. I would have liked if they went deeper into Jean's origin. I
I
feel you.
disagree. I disagree.
Yeah, I feel what you mean because I think there's because me and my wife were talking about this. Me and Mrs. Moon were leaving the theater, and she said the only way that this movie kind of messed up for me was when Jean was leaving. I wanted the movie to keep going into the X-Men movie.
Hmm.
Like she was such a good character that I wanted to see more of her. But I think that proves that the movie did well with establishing her. Because to be fair, when we see Spider-Man show up in Civil War, we don't get his whole backstory.
Yeah.
He just shows up, and then that leaves it ripe for whatever the movies are going to do. And I think that's good. I think that especially for a director, at least as of right now that we know of, isn't doing the X-Men film. I'm glad he didn't do too much. I'm
Hmm.
glad he gave us enough. And really, he set up Jean with her more classic powers now. Because in this movie, she starts with just the what do they call it? The jumping or the hopping,
Yeah, the
whatever the hell.
hopping. Hmm.
Yeah, like she starts with that, and then by the end of it, she's doing all the Jean Grey stuff we know she can do.
Hmm.
And that means that she'll have those powers in X-Men. And if you miss this movie for whatever reason, you're fine. She's just gonna be, that one girl who murdered an old man, and we're all gonna have to forget about it.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but yeah,
I
I'll see Super Sanctum Pod saying brand new day, 9 out of 10. That's where I'm at as well, and I agree. But Bobbert, sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, I agree with you on a lot of the stuff, that same thing where I was like, yeah, I'm okay with just not being getting what we got, which already is a departure from the comics, kind of. So I
Kind of
remember
mixed
like
her with Rogue a little bit, I would say.
a little bit like it's felt a little different because I was watching it and I was like, it's like Sarah Gray is not an important character. At least like I mean, right now I'm currently reading all of X Men. I'm up to 1987 right now from the original like 1965. I think I started. So not like the first like 22 issues or whatever. But so I'm all the way up to there, and I'm like, I've seen Sarah Gray being mentioned once, and it's just her being like, "Oh yeah, that's my sister Sarah," and that's about it. I know like they kind of like do something a little bit different in the newer stuff, but I'm okay with just getting this because this movie is not the X-Men movie. You know, we
Yeah,
don't need to
exactly.
see anything kind of going forward. I think it was a great first thing to have a good villain for Spider-Man, and then hey, she's going to transform not off screen but in a different thing, go check that out. Go buy Marvel Unlimited, read your comics, go buy, like it is that sort of thing of, hey, go buy other stuff, go watch other stuff to see who that
Oh,
is.
of course, and I think even more so, even for people who maybe don't read a lot of comic books, the MCU, we've seen them do that before,
Hmm.
where even Black Panther, when he shows up in Civil War, is a bit more antagonistic, is a
Hmm.
bit more headstrong, and then when we see him in his own movie, he is not like that because he has grown as a character, and then
Yeah.
we see him do more, and I think that's what they propped up Jean Grey to do, um, and I think everything she did was great, honestly,
I know you
um
said like, oh, we're gonna have to kind of get over her killing a person, which I agree. You're gonna have to kind of get over, and then some of the choice stuff that she does with MJ's character. Um, I I think it's just like me. Go ahead. No, you go ahead
I
first.
was gonna say, just real quick before I forget it, like you said, we're gonna have to get over her killing because at one point she does blatantly kill that old man. She
Yeah.
makes him walk in the street and get hit by a car. I can't wait for in the next X-Men movie for somebody to go, "Didn't you kill a guy?" And she kind of offhandedly goes, "Oh, he was a serial killer or a
Yeah.
PDF or something." Like,
Yeah.
she's gonna be like, "I read his mind. He was a terrible person. It's fine." Like, I feel like that's what they're gonna do. Like, I would
Yeah.
be willing to put money on it. But sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
No, yeah, I don't know. I kind of get it from like this might just be me being an X-Men fan where I'm like, I know how mutants are treated, and stuff like that. So it is very much the Magneto of it all, being like, hey, the it justifies whatever you're gonna do. The actions justify the means, or whatever it is. Um, I'm just like afraid of like how crazy some of the other stuff goes, and if this is where it starts, where do they have to take Magneto? Uh, so I'm
Yeah.
like, it's gonna be interesting with seeing the mutants sort of thing where it's like in the comics, it's very much not justified. And here so far, I'm like, it's a little like, hey, she made this guy walk in the traffic and did
Yeah,
some really
but
messed up
again,
stuff with.
maybe this is the beginning of the X-Men's version of the Sokovia Accords. Like when they're
Mm,
like, later on in the X-Men film when they're like, "Well, people don't trust us. Why?" They're gonna show the clip. Remember when Jean fucking murked the guy? Like,
yeah,
and that could be it. And Robert, this I'm gonna kind of use chat here
yeah.
to take us into our next. And also, I know we just have a couple people in chat, but guys, wherever you're watching, definitely like the live stream. It always helps us out, helps us get more nerds to come in and watch our stuff and have the conversation with us. So thank y'all so much. But anyway, I see here both UTC and Super Sanctum Pod. First, I need more Frank and Peter, and then everything Frank and Peter was so cool.
Mhm.
I for me, Frank Castle is my favorite part of this film. Not gonna sugarcoat it. Not gonna say whatever. I loved him in this movie. Is it not the regular version of the Punisher that we see? Yeah, but to be fair, I feel like a lot of people have been pointing this out. They've been pointing out that it's like a watered down Punisher. To be fair, if you watch the Netflix Punisher, where this Punisher comes from, he has a couple moments of really geeking out and killing or well, offing people.
Mhm.
But then really most of the show is him talking about how he was gonna off people. He's not all the
Yeah.
time just doing what he's doing. So I feel like this was a fair representation. If anything, the Punisher One Last Kill really hyped up more of that violence when that really wasn't where the character was. Even in like Daredevil Born Again, did he have some more violent stuff? Yeah, but still it was in spurts. And I feel like this movie I think does them really well. But anyway, I love their chemistry. Both these actors, obviously they love working with each other. The
Mhm.
chemistry comes through 100%. I was very surprised with how much Frank was in this movie.
Me too.
I kind of thought we saw him and I was like, "Oh, then he's just going to show up to help with the Hulk." But Frank was a huge part of like the heart of this film. And I
Yeah.
was like, that is craziness. But I love that for him because it reminds me of Spider-Man the animated series when Frank Castle also had some big parts in this storyline where Spider-Man's going through changes.
Mhm.
But I loved it. I loved Frank Castle. I want more of him. If they said that this next, three movies of Spider-Man are going to be all Spider-Man and Frank Castle team ups, I'd be like, okay, that's fine with me. But Robert, what did you think about Spider-Man Frank Castle?
Yeah, I think like overall, I want to give a huge round of applause to all of these smaller bit parts in this, the smaller quote unquote cameos of this. Even like DeWolf, I thought DeWolf was fantastic. A great like, I think I think the best part of this has been the kind of the introduction of some of the stuff from the Spider-Man games. Because like you have Spider-Man and Yuri, Captain Yuri, the NYPD, and they kind of have the exact same sort of friendship that is right here. They're joking with each other and stuff like that, but still like, hey, I am the prize protecting New York,
Yeah.
as well as like it is that kind of coworker friendship that like is kind of like bursting on like regular friendship where she's like, you don't even know my kids, like you don't know my kids' names. She's like, well, I know one of them's Poppy, and like which is a great
Yeah.
joke. But to the end, where she's like, Spider-Man says hi, not whatever, and like
Mhm.
he says their names. I think like just the little moments like that and the little characters that we had along the way, I was like, this is fantastic. But like specifically Frank and Peter, I agree. Like this was such a good breath of fresh air with like, I don't think the man in the chair thing ever worked for me with Jacob Batalon.
Yeah.
But this was so much better because I think it's someone that understands the stakes and understands the world that they live in to be like, and also give a absolutely different point of view from Spider-Man. So there is
Yeah.
something that's like, it's like a friendly sort of conflict between the two of them. It's like we're still doing the exact same thing with each other, but there's always going to be something that's going to push us kind of away from each other, which is a great thing to have in those battles. Or it's like, okay, so it's not just a 2v1 anymore; it's a 1v1v1 in this situation.
Mhm.
Um, and it made me really excited, like I said, to see like other different people. Like, what if She-Hulk is in, Spider-Man next? Like, I think that would be so great. Like another funny sort of thing. I think that's another thing that's sorely missed within the MCU right now is that there are cameos galore, but not cameos that actually bring something to it. It's mostly just like oh hey, there's Howard the
Yeah, I was
Duck.
about to say it's empty cameos, and these
Yes.
cameos added to the heart of the film.
Hmm.
And even like like you're saying, one, I was gonna ask real quick, do you know the story of Jean DeWolf from the comics?
No, I know she's like a important side character, but not too much.
Yeah, no, she's definitely an important side character. I don't want to say anything else other than that, 'cause I don't want to spoil anything that I'm hoping that they do with her in the future. But
Hmm.
she's a great character. But with that being said, I do love, and honestly, I haven't seen anybody talk about this, and I thought all of the TikTok people that love to have their very analytical commentary on the film would have talked about this. But I love, especially with Gene DeWolf, that this movie is like it's two sides of the coin that Spider-Man's trying to flip, right?
Hmm.
Gene DeWolf is like, "Hey, I'm with my kids and I learned how to take care of myself and I'm a cop sometimes." And
Hmm.
Frank is like, "I am the Punisher all the time." So, and it's Spider-Man in the middle seeing these two different very extremes and he's like, "I got to be in the middle." Or
Hmm.
like I got to figure out who I'm going to be. Or maybe it's more of, Gene him being like, "Well, Jean is a balanced life where she's helping people but still loving herself." And Frank is the version that's like, "I fucking hate myself," you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Destructive, self-destructive.
yeah, and I love that. I absolutely love that.
I think one of my biggest sort of qualms with this movie, and I know like you disagreed with me as soon as I brought it up, a text message was like, I don't think the evolution of his powers needed to happen. I think like in the way that they go through with like the rest of the story, it makes sense because they're introducing a lot of the mutant stuff. So it's like, hey, his genes are mutating. Let's show kind of a drastic version of what a mutation could be against like genes going on, right?
Yeah.
uh but I don't see it as necessary because it kind of just seems like they wanted an offhanded reference to Peter too. So there's that, and then two, it was like they wanted to try and force an evolution that I don't think was needed within his powers. Because I think about like in Spider-Man, the video games 1 and 2, the only thing that really changes is that he gets more gadgets. And I would love to see a more kind of tactical, engineering Spider-Man with like, hey, like I had to set up a web of gadgets to be able to catch the lizard, or
Mhm.
to see that more than I mean, the really impressive visuals that we get with a more organic sort of webbing, but I just don't think it was really needed, nor do I enjoy it. But I'm not gonna. It's not. I'm not gonna be like, oh, this movie's a 3 out of 10 because of that. I just think I'm like,
Yeah.
It was like it's not a choice that I would make, but I also don't make $1 million, $1 billion movies. You know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get where you're coming from. I guess to me, one, I think it's just cool, like dead ass. Like it's just that caveman part of my brain. It's like it's really cool. But then the other thing is like, I think what to me, what I'm seeing is like Robert, there are eras of Spider-Man, right?
Hmm.
There's the Toby era. We know what the vibe is. We know what the movies are. There's the Andrew era. We know what the vibe is. We know what the movies are. There's the Tom Holland era. We know what the vibe is. We know what the movies are. I think this is actually the fourth era. I think that this is still the Tom era, but this is going to be like phase two of Tom
Hmm.
because it's so drastically different. And I think this is almost the movie's way of being like, again, kind of like how Toby had organic webbing and then, you know, Andrew had to have web shooters to set him apart. We had to drastically change the suit. We had to drastically make Spider-Man all involved with Iron Man to make him set apart for the MCU's version. And I think now this is their way of like, oh, this new Spider-Man that is a little darker, that does have a new set of powers, because this is the next version of Spider-Man, even though it's the same actor. That's just
I
kind of my take on it there.
I think my major thing with this, like, I think like another reason why they're doing it is because I think we generally have maybe one more Tom Holland Spider-Man movie before it gets passed down to Miles Morales, and
Think so.
I think so. Because I mean, think about the next time a Spider-Man movie is going to come out, maybe 5 6 years. Tom is going to be almost like what mid 30s by then.
I
I
think you got
think
a
it
full
would.
trilogy coming up.
I think I don't think so. But I think what they're gonna do with Miles is give him organic webbing because if they're gonna do with like his electric powers, his venom strikes and stuff like that, I think that's gonna be more like connected to biological sort of stuff. So I think it's kind of bridging a gap between the two sort of Spider-Man. Because Tom has also been saying, "Hey, we have a plan for whenever I'm handing it off to Miles. Like my
Yeah,
dream is to bring it to Miles." I think that the end or the middle of this next movie will have to deal with Miles a lot, very similar to Spider-Man won the game, and then end with like maybe handing it off to Miles or like having one final movie where there's two Spider-Man and then hey, you are the Spider-Man.
I do agree. I think that's what's going to happen. Exactly. I think this next movie we're going to get either the introduction or the allusion to Miles, and then we're going to have one more Tom Holland movie where he's going to have Miles there, and then it will be fully Miles Morales. But I think Tom has two movies left in him. And like I think he has two Spider-Man solo movies left in him.
Mhm.
I think he's got two or three Avengers films left in him. Honestly,
I don't know because I mean I'm
dude,
thinking
Don
about it.
Cheadle's fucking 60 or
Well,
almost 70.
it's not necessarily that. I just think that like I think with the way that they are struggling with Captain America right now will have the exact same effect with Peter Parker and Miles Morales. That there is going to be two Spider-Man at the same time and struggling to hand off this mantle from a white man to a man of color. So I don't know. It's either like to me, it's like cut it off dry immediately, do this, or have this sort of weird mishmash that we have with Sam and Cap right now, or see, I can't Sam and Steve right now.
Yeah, no, and I hear you. I definitely hear you on that. I think the difference is, at least for me, when it comes to the Captain America comparison, is Steve is definitely rooted in kind of the ideological perfect version of a white individual, and that's why it's always kind of a weird handoff to Sam Wilson. And I think Tom Holland, not Tom Holland, but like Peter Parker. See, that's how good he is. Peter Parker as a character, I think has always been very inclusive, has always been very, So I don't know. I don't see like that, especially because people rocked with it in the video games, and we have other shows where they're together. I think the brand synergy would kind of help break that up a little bit, at least in my opinion. Um, he's 60. I thought he was like 40. No, dude, Don Cheadle
60, yeah.
is 60 years old. Let me
I think he's
let
like
me get an exact
62
number real quick,
because
but
like he had that interview with Kevin Hart like 2 years ago.
yeah, dude,
He's
like,
like, I'm 60. Damn. Oh yes, Alex, one of your comics did just fall behind you, by the way.
what was that?
Off your left shoulder, like one of your
Oh
comics fell
yeah,
off. Yeah.
these, because we're about to move, I haven't wanted to like get them properly seated on the wall, so they got a shitty piece of tape behind these because they don't have a backing. So sometimes they just shift around.
Mm.
These are like my kind of what do you call them? They're like my reader Captain America books, where some of them
Mhm.
got like kids that
They drew on
trace the
them,
fucking
yeah.
covers, and I'm like, I read them, I know the story, that's fine. Um,
What was
but
like
yeah, so
like I said, like that's kind of my biggest thing where I was like, about like what is your biggest thing that you're like, this could have been better, or like you're like, is there anything that really bothered you in this movie? Not bothered, I guess
um
bothers a bad word, but you know what I'm saying.
yeah, no, there. I'll be honest with you. As much as I love this film, there are several things that honestly kind of made me scratch my head a little bit. And there's some that are like so dumb, but some that are also like this makes no fucking sense to me. And then there are other ones that I'm like, who the fuck was writing this? And it's all stuff that is like broader universe things. Like first off, I remember I think I texted this to you because I've been telling everybody. I thought this was wild. Why is mass murderer Frank Castle, convicted mass murderer Frank Castle, allowed to just walk around New York City?
Yeah.
Like, and everyone's acting like it's just fine. Like everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that dude with the bulletproof vest and the skull on his chest with the gat on his side, in New York with one of the most with some extremely strict gun laws. He's just standing there out of nowhere. Maybe
They
people
even
think he's a
use like
cop.
in Daredevil where like Bullseye's like, hey, I see Frank Castle, he has a gun, and then you see the task
There's
force
an
like
immediate
show up.
response.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like in Frank Castle's show and in Brand New Day, and I get it. This is after because we do see the new mayor
Hmm.
from Daredevil Born Again. And I thought
Yes.
that was really cool. Sheila, I think is her name.
Yeah.
And like that's dope. That was such a cool continuity thing that I absolutely love to see. But I was like, but no one's gonna talk about convicted mass murderer Frank Castle just walking around, and everyone's gonna be okay with convicted mass murderer Frank Castle being the only person locked in the room with Spider-Man while he's in the hospital. That was one thing that I was like, what are we doing? What is going on? What is happening? Another thing that me and you talked about briefly that I thought was very funny is we're talking about the product placement in the
Yes.
movie. And I told Robert, I was texting him, I was like, I do think it's funny though, because we had the Takis, we had the Bureau in one scene, we had
Little
um
Caesars.
the Little Caesars was the big one, and he was constantly down in Little Caesars. And I was like, he's in New York City, often considered like the pizza capital of America. And this man is just buying Little Caesars on the regular. He doesn't have like a Little John's pizza down the street like everyone else. Like,
I think my literal reaction was like, he's just like me for real, for real. Like I was like,
yeah, yeah.
I have a Little Caesars down the street from me, and I'm like, I gotta eat it, man. I'll
Yeah,
order it.
but you know that if Tom Holland looked out his window and went there was 5 pizza joints and
Yeah,
he picked Little Caesars.
definitely.
And then one of our comments right here, those freaking flip phones. Yes, dude.
Yes, the Samsung
The
ones.
Sony flip, is it Samsung or Sony,
It's
whoever.
probably Sony actually, because I wouldn't think that they would put Samsung phones
Yeah,
in their
well,
Sony movie.
they're opening these horrid, because Ned has one that he opens up and it's fucking
A
a
book.
tablet, and then Peter has the literal like razor flip phone almost,
Uh huh.
and I was like, insane. Um, yeah, no, those were funny. And it took me out of it because there's one part where like he hangs up the phone and he does like the click, like where he
Hmm.
pulls it shut, and I was like, wait, what year is this movie? Um,
Yeah.
but no, but with that, outside of that, probably my biggest thing, and this is someone who has been intaking MCU media forever. The Hand being quickly boiled down to a bunch of teenagers that needed direction is insane to me, because they're a multi-hundred, if not thousand-year-old ninja cult that brings people back to life that Madame Gao worked her ass off to build up and almost destroyed New York City and made it plummet into a hole in the ground for a fucking dragon. And then in this movie, this fucker goes, I realized they were just teenagers that needed some way to go. Like they were fucking Foot Clan members. Wrong fucking Daredevil adjacent bitches, dude. What are you talking about? That was the biggest like thing for me, and I love the movie.
Uh
I
huh.
love the movie, but he said that, and like it took everything inside of me to not get up during this Wednesday screening this Wednesday early screening of Spider-Man and be like, actually, everyone, because it pissed me off. That was one of those things where I was like, what the fuck is that? What the hell's that? So yeah, that again, there's a lot of little things like that in the movie that like annoyed the shit out of me. But then I have to again, I think the thing that I have to sometimes remember is the same thing that, you know, I think a lot of people struggle with is now comic book movies have really caught up with comic books
Mhm.
where before everything was just banger, you know, for the most part. Everything was pretty good. Now it's not the case. Welcome to the world of comic books. Not everything is really good. And then now everyone's like, well, Doomsday is just a cash grab with all the characters. Welcome. Secret Wars has been out since the 80s. Like that's
Yeah.
just that's always how it is. That's how it is. And we've even caught up to the point where now there is so much lore, there's so much backstory that not every writer, every creative team is going to go watch the entirety of Netflix's Daredevil season 2 to fully understand the hand.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's just their interpretation of the hand. And the same way that we all read comic books for these serialized characters that have been around for 80 fucking years, and we're like, well, this doesn't make sense with what happened in the 70s. Now we're just like that, where we're like, well, technically, 12 years ago, the hand was different. Like,
Mhm.
it's just one of those things where I've got to make peace with it. But yeah, those are the things that bothered me, more of those small things. Um, let's see. Real quick in the chat, that prison scene was so cool though. I'm going there next week. That again, the hand is really that action scene is amazing. That is probably the only thing I will say in this film that I was like, oh, not only was the hand kind of boiled down to less than what their core is, but really they were also a vehicle for Jean Grey to just have that action scene with
Yeah.
Spider-Man, which, you know, I can't be too mad about because how many times have we had a whiplash introduced into an Iron Man film just to fight Iron Man at some point? How
Yeah.
many times have we seen a character on the poster and it be a 2-minute fight with Crossbones at the beginning of Civil War? Some characters are there to fill that slot, and I honestly, as annoyed as I am, I think I'm more glad that it was the hand instead of like somebody more important that they boiled
Yeah.
down to that. Not that the hand's not important, but we have gotten some mileage out of the hand already.
What
But
is it, like the demolition? Like if it was like the demolition crew, is that what they're called?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like if it was like them, I'd be like, oh, that'd be kind of cool. But also at the same time, it's like, okay, well then you never get like a kind of like maybe an upscaled version of the demolition crew, which
Exactly.
I don't know if it would work either way. But
100%. And I think I'm more happy with that than like what they did in Homecoming, where they're like, oh, look, we technically had the shocker. And then
yeah,
we never got the shocker again. Like, you know, so I'm glad they did it with the hand characters that we've seen instead of like, oh, look, we're doing it with, I don't know, uh, the fucking Spider Slayer guys or some bullshit
yeah,
or the jury from the Venom Lethal Protector comics or something where you're like, that could have been a cool thing later on. So
hmm
I'm kind of glad that. And then yeah, again, the sacrifice in the chat, sacrifice was worth it. Yeah, I kind of agree. But Robert, speaking about sacrifices, and that guy being 100% the Tinkerer thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So Robert, speaking of sacrifices, what did you think of the ending that we got with Peter? You know, getting gatted by Frank. You laughed, so you either have some opinions or
No, I was thinking about just like other stuff, but yeah, no. Um, I was thinking. I don't even know what I was thinking about. Me,
no, tell
like,
me.
no, I mean, like it just it brought to me like there had to be some sort of other kind of thing going on here. Like we couldn't just have like the tension of like this conflict with him and Gene. I don't know. Like I get it of like having something like another running clock with a running clock that you already have of like
Mhm.
this, like, oh yeah, I have to get these people before Gene takes over all of New York. It's like, oh, I have to beat this 50-year-old man up these stairs so he doesn't gat, an Omega level mutant. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I like the idea of like Spider-Man taking the bullet because it really did echo in some of the stuff from like Civil War. When he gets shot and he fucking dies, right? Or
Yeah.
the yeah,
No, he doesn't
no
die, but
die.
you know.
Yeah, where he gets shot. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like that's really cool. I love. I told you like seeing a bunch of different comics being pulled into like one sort of thing. Um, Overall, I thought it was great because it lead up to the great scene of Peter walking maskless through the crowd, people like shouting like Spider Man. It is that thing where he's like, oh hey, like I am like what I'm doing is being seen and it is doing good. So I really liked all that sort of stuff. Do I think a bullet would have like not realistically because obviously it's all make believe comic stuff. I think Gene would have caught the bullet, but like
Uh,
uh
yeah,
but I mean,
yeah,
like the realist, like the sort of like my brain, like Gene would have caught the bullet, like telepath Gene and be like, "Yep, boom," or telekinetic Gene, all right, cool, there it is, done. But I don't know. I thought it was a really good ending to see like the end of to get to the end of the movie where we need like the kind of more happy-go-lucky stuff because we knew he wasn't going to die in this movie, so it was kind of just like unneeded sort of action, but
yeah.
it's cool.
I hear you. I think I'm of this a similar mindset where like it's one of those things where like I'm not upset about it. Like I'm not like, oh, I wish they wouldn't have done that. But I'm kind of like, I'll be honest, I'm a little indifferent about that
Hmm.
part. It's one of those things where I'm like, there wasn't another way we could have seen everybody cheering on Spider-Man and without the whole rigmarole of him. And don't get me wrong, there's a great moment with him and Frank. You
Hmm.
know, there's a great moment with uh with him kind of seeing everybody cheering him on, like you said, and Frank having that heart to heart with him. All great stuff that I wouldn't cut from the movie, but the thing that had to get them there, I'm kind of like, okay, you did that, I guess. But it felt very Superman Returns, like, you know, just tacking that
Hmm.
on at the end. Again, I have no problems with it, but it's also just like, okay, we did it. We got some cool moments out of it, so I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
But I think maybe there was again, maybe there was just another way that you could have done that. I don't know.
I think it could
But
have honestly just ended with like Jean getting able to run away and then Spider-Man swinging through the city. like I don't know, like get it cutting to the end and being everyone be like, "Yeah, Spider-Man, woo, whatever." Cuz I mean
I mean,
like, oh, I
it
guess
could
like
have.
no one would have known if it was him or not because oh yeah, so I guess I get.
They were all alive or like coherent while they were
Yeah.
frozen. Like I was thinking in my head, like the alternative in my not being paid millions of dollars to do this, right?
Mhm.
In my little peon brain, I was thinking that it could have been like, oh, everyone froze, but like, I don't know. Again, similar to like a Spider-Man 2, the train kept going because
Mhm.
everybody was frozen. So at the very last of it, he's like, well, you got to help me stop the train so people don't die. And then it's that last thing where everyone sees Spider-Man save something. And that's where you have that moment of, yeah, Spider-Man, but we don't have to do the whole, you know, homosexual rigmarole of, uh, of that. I don't think you understand that reference. I just threw
No,
that out
I
there.
don't.
I'll send you the video later.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. I dug it. But another thing, I'm sorry, I didn't dig it, but it was kind of like, I was a little indifferent
Mhm.
about that. Another thing that I see being brought up in the chat right here is they kind of wasted Tombstone,
I'm gonna
in
be
my
honest.
opinion.
I don't think a Tombstone movie would be good. So, I don't. I mean, like, to me, it would just be like a Joker sort of thing.
Did y'all
Wh-
catch that right now? Because Robert and Robert didn't even realize it because the gentleman's albino. But Robert, that's also a black gentleman. And you props to you for not seeing color, but no props to you
I
for the racism still breaking through.
don't think it would have
Um
been good. I'm
no,
stand
but
by it.
genuinely on a real note, uh I I I think that there was a lot of character and we've been told through like a lot of interviews and stuff that there was much more for a lot of these characters. You know, whether it
Mhm.
was Ramrod, whether it was Tarantula, whether it was Boomerang and Tombstone, that they filmed a lot of stuff for all these guys that I know we're going to get on some overpriced ultimate edition. Um but the chat right here is disrespectful, Robert, one of my favorite villains. How dare you? Again, look, Robert just pissing everybody off. But they definitely sped past a lot of villains. But I'll be honest with you, while it does suck that they sped past a character like Tombstone, I'm hoping that means we'll see him pop up again
Mhm.
in some capacity. But man, I kind of liked that. I kind of liked that at the beginning we see just Spider-Man doing Spider-Man shit. Like
He's mowing through the enemies.
yeah, and it's not like, and what I love is we've cultivated a universe with the MCU where it's not a Sam Raimi thing where we have these things and it's just different dudes in shades doing crimes. Like,
yeah.
it's actual villains. It's Scorpion, it's Ramrod, it's Boomerang, Tarantula, and Tombstone. And I'm hoping we see some of those guys back. Especially because they looked really fucking cool. None of them didn't look fucking awesome.
Mhm.
But what did you think about all those like kind of cameos and kind of day in the life of Spider-Man stuff?
No, I agree 100%. Like, it was to me, it was good to see a way for him to be progressing as a hero, like, overall, because, I mean, like,
Mhm.
we have known him as this now, I guess, like, cosmic Spider-Man. He goes into space and then he's, gets dusted away and comes back. What do you do when you are so, like, big potato, and then you are brought immediately back down to be a little potato? You're gonna have some more skill, but you're still gonna have to deal with threats that aren't necessarily that large. So, how
Mhm.
do you deal with the crime boss? How do you deal with a street level thug that got, a bunch of technology that makes them have a scorpion tail? Like, what do you do with that sort of stuff? And it's great to see that, like, the different ways where it is more small scale and we're able to enjoy it with, like, not having an end of the world threat. I think with, like, that's
Yeah.
a lot of these movies. Um, I'm excited to see, maybe I don't think we'll ever get Matt Gargan again. I don't think I think we'll get, like, some Tombstone, but not necessarily like a whole Tombstone movie. Maybe like like he's a part of, like, a larger crew or whatever it may be.
Robert just said, "I hope I don't get Tombstone. I don't want any more Tombstone."
No, it's not.
He said Marvel cancel it like Blade and Wonder Man. Um,
No, I just think that there are other Spider-Man characters that have not necessarily less appeal or less notoriety as Tombstone, but characters that I think could be elevated a bit more to have a more interesting story.
mm,
Because, I mean, like, to me, like, a Tombstone, I can only think of, like, a Gangs of New York type movie, where it's
yeah.
like maybe like all these different sects of New York are fighting or domineering, but that doesn't sound like a Spider-Man movie to me. It
So
sounds
what's
like more like
another
a
one that's
Daredevil.
better than Tombstone though?
Let's see. I would do what's her face?
Look at this man trying not to think of a white male. He's trying
No,
so
no.
hard. He's trying.
uh, I'm fucking weak. No, I think a Black Cat movie would be good. I think it would
That
be.
would be a cool one, yeah.
I think it would be a good one because it is that cat and mouse sort of game.
Robin and Princess Polly.
It is that cat and mouse sort of game that will be between them, and that's why, like, I want to kind of move past the other ones. I know it would be interesting, like in the Spider-Man game, to be like, oh, like, I have a past with Felicia and a past with MJ, blah blah blah.
Mhm.
MJ doesn't remember anything. She's out of here. Now you can kind of focus a little bit more on just, like, developing, like, hey, like, this is like a
Or
first, not love, but this is like my heart was broken. Let me get back into there, and then just to get betrayed again.
I
Um,
hear that. I was
yeah,
gonna say real quick, that leads me back to my very first thing I said at the beginning of this thing. We find out later he was getting his Felicia Hardy on with Felicia
yes,
Hardy in
yes.
between this like 4 years time jump, and
We'll
she comes back in
finally
later.
have some sex in the MCU.
Nobody said that. He's a good Catholic boy. What are you on about?
But I
He
think that would
doesn't know what
be.
that is.
I think that would be my next best movie I could think of that I would want. That's not like a Venom or Carnage movie.
I'll
Uh,
be honest, I don't want them to touch Venom or Carnage.
yeah, honestly, I'm
I'm
okay with that.
over it.
Yeah.
I'm over it. And I love Venom. I don't want to see it again. You know what I mean?
So we're about to end right now, but I want to ask you, Alex,
Tell me.
again to give mine. What is your pitch for the next Spider-Man movie? What would you want to kind of see this kind of go forward?
Um, I think I would genuinely love for them to continue like opening up these movies with just days in the life of Spider-Man. Give us more of those characters. Like open up the next film with us seeing him take on some of those small potato guys. Like, like I'll be honest, like throw the Rhino in there. Throw or and maybe some people won't like this. Throw some of those other characters in there that we've kind of seen different interpretations of that we probably don't want to dive into a lot. Throw him the version of the MCU's Green Goblin. Throw him the version of MCU's Doc Ock, and because we really can't explore those a whole lot because he's kind of already met the other versions of them, so it'd be less interesting. Um, but story wise, I would love to just get more of what this movie gave us, which is definitely more of the character of Peter, more stuff where I think we're past like back in the day. It used to be, who do you think Spider Man's going to fight in the next movie? Now it's more like I want to know more about Spider Man's life. I want to know what he's
Hmm.
doing more. I want to see where his character takes him. If I had a dream kind of villain, I'd love to see kind of him go up against or him kind of have to deal with. It would be a Mr. Negative.
Hmm.
And I think that would be really cool because again, just kind of backtracking a little bit, he used to work with Aunt May at Feast. We can have that story.
Hmm.
Have, Melissa Tomei come back at, or is it Marissa or Melissa?
Marissa.
Marissa Tomei come back in some flashbacks. Have that. I think that's ripe for some great Spider-Man stories. And I want to start getting the introduction of a Miles Morales, so
Hmm.
everyone can stop seeing any black character and go, "Is that Miles?" Um.
Here's my
So,
pitch.
but what was that?
Right. So here's my pitch. You ready?
Go ahead. Tell me. Tell me.
It is a Spider-Man movie. What? Spider-Man movie that starts with him like kind of like discovering a bunch of robberies around New York at specific labs and stuff until finally he catches Black Cat at a new Oscorp, and she breaks in, causes sort of havoc, while Miles Morales' class is having like a field trip or whatever. Big
Ooh.
outrage, things are going around. Miles is trying to escape, gets bit by Spider. So then now he has to deal with, hey, there's signs of a brand new Spider-Man. What's going on with that? As well as trying to figure out what is going on with Black Cat stealing from these laboratories, which could lead up to like a big main villain of a Green Goblin or a Mr. Negative or something like that, where it is, hey, what are these experimentations kind of going on with that leads into like
Hmm.
seeing Peter kind of start mentoring Miles in that sort of way.
Yeah. Yeah. I genuinely really like that. I do, however, find it a little interesting that the character that helps Miles Morales get or causes Miles Morales to get his spider bite is Black Cat, but okay, whatever. That was a choice on your end. Um, but a very intentional choice.
Yes,
But
yes,
Robert,
definitely.
one last thing that I do want to ask before we fully end this. So we've gotten Spider-Man Brand New Day,
Hmm.
and I think this really sets up Marvel and Sony, really, the Spider-Man, for more success. We've already seen the box offices doing really well. Now that we have the film, now that it's out, I want to ask you a question that we kind of talked about previously, but I want to bring up again now that we have the film in front of us. Do you think this movie, with now you know the quality, now you know what it has to offer, do you think this movie, I guess two questions. Do you think it's going to do monetarily better than Doomsday? And second, do you think general audiences are going to find themselves enjoying this movie more or Doomsday more? I have my opinion. I want to hear yours.
I think second answer is easy. I think people are going to enjoy this movie way more. I think that there is less to kind of necessarily know for the movie overall, and then two, I was very lucky that some of my family have no idea who Jean Grey is. So like this is like their first introduction to Jean Grey, and they're like, oh, that's like so cool. Like that is like me having to tell them like X-Men and stuff like that, and like
Yeah.
oh okay yeah. So I think that this has that factor of like seeing the beginnings of mutants overall within the MCU. And then do I think this? I think this one will do better monetarily than Avengers Doomsday as well. I think that you do have like a bunch of different names. I think it's all going to depend on the first opening weekend. If
Yeah.
it does really well and reviews are really well, I think that it will beat Spider-Man. If the reviews come out and it is not great, I think that this will be not dead in the water because no MCU movie is ever going to be dead in the water. But I think it will be seen as a near miss. No matter what, I think it's going to be break any of its goals. But
Yeah.
I think that it would be a near miss to beating Spider-Man.
Yeah. I think I think I'm going to agree with you on, I think Spider-Man will do better monetarily. I do think the general audience will end up liking Avengers better. And
Really?
I think that a big part of that is because of the conversation. And, it was brought up a little earlier. A lot of people are talking about the Hulk being like in the middle of the movie.
Mhm.
That some people don't like the slower ending that we kind of got. And I think that, I'll be honest with you. I think the majority of the brain rot general audience are going to be like, oh, Toy's punching more. I like that more than Spider-Man ending with Punisher and him having a heart to heart in a hospital room.
Mm.
But that's just me. I
Mhm.
could just be being very rude to all the people that are not as smart as me. But yeah, I don't know. That's my opinion on it. But yeah, I'm very interested to see, and it feels crazy. It feels like just yesterday we are talking about how 2026 is jam packed with stuff. Wonder Man,
Rip.
the Wonder Man.
Rip.
How dare you? Talking about Wonder Man, talking about Supergirl, talking about the stuff we're getting with the DC, with the new DCU. We still have some projects on the way. We're getting supposedly Vision Quest still. We're supposed to be getting Lanterns coming up, but the last big film is going to be Doomsday. So now we're getting down to the wire. We're gonna see how all this is shaking out. So I'm really excited about that. But Robert, we should do this again.
We should. We should do this every Thursday. We're able to at 7 or 6
For the
p.m.
most part. Yeah,
CST.
yeah.
Yeah.
Something
Around
in
there.
something in that area.
Yeah.
We're gonna it's gonna be 2 years from now. We're gonna be like, we should do this again whenever we could fit it in.
I will be 30. You'll be 45?